Today we're going to talk a little bit about different variations to the number one thing to do to get stronger. And it's very simple. I put duh next to the title because check it out, guys. Like, subscribe, boom, hit yes. I want to like. Yeah. What's up, guys? Coach Dave here in the podcast room. Just want to say rock and roll. The open is over. Whoop, whoop. Today we're going to go back. I did a video where I talked about 2 secret strength builders. And I have a whole sequence of 13 things that we use in the SuperStrong program to make people stronger. The MadAthlete. I'm going to do a video series on that. In the first video I made, I went over 1 and 2, but I'm just going to start again. We're going to talk about number 1. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about different variations to the number one thing to do to get stronger. And it's very simple. I put duh next to the title because it sounds very simple, but it's a little more complicated than just the idea. And this is the idea. The number one thing that we'll talk about today is progressive resistance. So check it out, guys. Like, subscribe, boom, hit yes. I want to subscribe. And I'll keep putting more content. I'm obviously going to make 13 videos in this series of that. I have a couple other things about EMOMs. The last video I made on spring break talked about how to get your pull-ups much better with EMOMs, which worked out great for 24.3 if you guys did that. And I'll talk a little bit about, we had a great 24.3. Our guys, I have 2 female masters athletes in the top 10 in the 40 to 44, Carly DeMonico and Chelsea Hansen, and they're 5th and 6th place. And so it's pretty awesome to see that. I also have 2 teens that were top 20 in the male 16 to 17. Kao was 3rd place and Kulani I think is 16th or 18th, I can't remember. But either way, they should make the games. They've both been to the games before. My masters hasn't. And then I have a ton of people that have made quarterfinals. The Mad crew has done pretty well with that. And then a few folks from our box have made different levels, following the Mad box programming or Mad every day to quarterfinals. So it's an exciting time, and we've got 5 weeks to ramp up the skills and get ready. And so it's fun. For the gamers, it was like, okay, let's get through the open and let's, move on to the next thing. And so it's been a very exciting time. And I'm glad you guys, hopefully you're following along and paying attention. But let's talk about getting stronger. Like specifically if you just did the open and you did not make quarterfinals, what do you do now? Like, how does your season go? What should I do? And maybe you're a casual CrossFitter 2 times a week, 3 times a week, or maybe you're starting to get into it and you go unlimited and I go 4 or 5 times a week. Either way, the idea is the same thing. We want now is the start of your off season, right? Even if there's some local comps coming up, doesn't matter. Now is the start of your off season. The CrossFit Open is the start of the season. If you advance, great. And 25% of people advance to quarterfinals. So for a big chunk of folks, that's going to be their season. Will show up in 5 weeks. And either they make the cut because it's a much bigger cut to go to semifinals, or then we're on to off season. And in off season, the first thing you want to do is get stronger, man. That's the most important thing, is to get stronger. For 95% of you guys, 95% of y'all need to get stronger. Okay. It's highly important that you, to advance, need to have a certain strength level. Not even to go into just the benefits of having more muscle as we age and all sorts of stuff, but even if you're a teen athlete, we want to get stronger. And so now that you're done, yes, take the week, enjoy it, have a little fun, then come back with the strength cycle. So if you were on the MadAthlete program, I would put you on SuperStrong, right? Especially if you were a teenager, or if strength is one of the things that you're lacking. And I really think that's probably 90% of you guys. There are some outliers for sure, for sure. There are some folks that just don't have the motor, but strength takes longer. Like I can get a motor on somebody fairly quickly, whereas it takes time to build muscle and then apply technique. And so that's why the Super Strong program is 14 weeks. So that being said, let's get into it. What is the number one? Progressive resistance. And that's a fancy way of saying you got to try. You got to add more weight, right? So we have to have but it's a systematic way to do it. It's a plan. It's not just, hey, put on 10 more, hey, put on 5 more. That's the simple way. The system would be over this next 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, I'm going to find a way to add weight. How do I add weight to my lifts over this period of time? And there's a couple different ways. First, I'll talk about some of the benefits. Some of the benefits, obviously, if you get stronger, stronger people, there's an old saying, because a strong man has a strong back, right? People who are stronger generally have less back pain, they have less joint pain, less hip pain, increased functional independence. I got a list. Enhanced movement control. You can control your body better. They walk faster. Wow, they did a study and found that people who are stronger just walk faster than other people. They have improved glucose and insulin homeostasis. So, the metabolic disorder that tends to creep in as so many of us as we age, it becomes harder to burn fat, easier to store fat. Well, having muscle helps with that. We have reduced resting blood pressure, improved lipid profiles, improved bone density. In general, you're just healthier. Stronger is healthier, stronger is better. I'm not saying you don't have to become the guy who deadlifts, excuse me, the guy who deadlifts 1,000 pounds. Like that. That doesn't have to happen. We don't have to be the strongest. We just need to be stronger, and that's what you want, especially for CrossFit. If this is your sport or whatever your sport is, football, pickleball, anything, stronger is a little bit better, right? And I'm not saying get stronger at the sacrifice of something else. We want to get strong and go. I have an athlete right now, and if you listen to the podcast, his is the most recent released podcast, and his name is EJ. And he is about to run the Boston Marathon on April 13th. So probably like 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, he's running the Boston Marathon. The same week he gets back, like April 19th, there is a state championship powerlifting meet that he's going to go and do because he can deadlift over 500 pounds. He back squats about 480, and he's running the Boston Marathon. And so that's what you want. You want to have both areas, ideally. I'm strong, but I also have endurance, and I'm fast, and I have gymnastic skill, and I have all the good stuff. It takes time to build that, but what a phenomenal feat. And how many people do you think that are running in the Boston Marathon have like a 500-pound deadlift? I would venture to say very few. But anyway, so obviously there's benefits to getting stronger. We know that. I don't have to sell you on that, or you probably wouldn't be watching this, right? It's not my cool t-shirt, although I have an old school CrossFit Cedar Park and CrossFit 2222, rest in peace. We had to close that one down, but it was a great place and I loved it. It's not for my t-shirts, I'm sure. But let's talk about most professional strength and conditioning coaches say that progressive resistance is the number one way to gain strength. Number one. And so we have to have a plan. What's the plan? There's a couple of different ways we can look at it. We can say we can do linear periodization, which means over the time we just involve increasing the load over several weeks. So that could be something like every week I'm going to add 5 pounds to my back squat. I'm going to do fives. I'm going to do 5 sets of 5, and every week I'm adding 5 pounds until I can't anymore. And it's very much like the EMOM when I talked about doing the EMOM to improve your pull-ups. Like let's say you hit 5 at 100 pounds, 5 back squats at 100 pounds through all 5 sets of 5. Okay, next week let's go to 5, 10. We can add 10 pounds. 5, 10, boom. I hit it the first set, the second set, not 5, 10, 110 pounds. 110 pounds, boom, on the first set. 110 pounds on the second set. 110 pounds on the third set. On the fourth set, let's say I only get 4 reps and I have to rack it. And then on the fifth set, let's say I get 3 reps. So then what do? I keep it the next week or the next time that I'm hitting back squats, I'm going to keep it the same. I'm going to keep that 110 pounds until I can, get 5 sets of 5 with that. And then I'm going to go up. You can pick any number. Obviously, different rep ranges do different things. I've done this with 20 rep back squats before. I've had the Mad Crew do that to build some of that, strength in higher repetition range, sort of muscular endurance type of stuff. And it works very well. And it's very simple, linear periodization. That's what you want. You could say every 2 weeks I'm increasing. You could say that. Or you could just pick, hey, the top two numbers. My first 3 sets will be 5 reps, 5 reps, 5 reps. I'm going to do them at 85% of my max. And then I'm going to go 3 and 3, and I'm going to up that to 92% or 90%. And the next week I'm going to go 92% on the last 2 sets. And then the next week or in 2 weeks, I'm going to go 92%, and then I'm going to go 95%. And obviously you get to a point where you're inching up numbers, and that's exactly what you want. And that is linear periodization. So we're steadily increasing in strength, and we're helping prevent plateaus, because that's what we don't want. Is like, hey, I made it to where I can back squat 150 or 300 or whatever that number is. We'll just say 150 because it's easy. 150, and then I'm stuck. I've just been stuck at this number. And normally, I'm going to be honest with you, people get stuck. A lot of times it's mental, but they get stuck at the big numbers, like, I can back squat 395, but I haven't broke 400 yet. Like, that's what you see a lot of. And so it's, how do I get past that? And some of that is mental. And so you're building confidence. If I'm just inching up and go, I'm going from 390 to 392, and now I'm going to go to 394 the next week. And 1 week you might not feel good, so you stay the same. Or maybe even you're a little lower. And then you come back and, wow, I hit 397. I'm right there, and then I got a little adrenaline. It's, having a back squat competition, or at the gym I'm at the box, and boom, I hit 405, and you finally break it. And so a lot of times that's kind of how it works. But that linear periodization is the way to do that. Another method would be undulating periodization. And so what that does is we go like a high week, a low week. This is a simplified explanation, and you can make it very complicated if you want. But let's say we have, we're doing 8 weeks, and on week 2, we're increasing our percentage. And then on week 3, we drop the percentage. Week 4, back up, right? Week 5, we drop a little bit. Week 6, back up. And we can ramp it up the stairs, basically, is what we're doing. We're doing hard work, easy work. This works really well if somebody's already really freaking strong. So if you look at Aaron, somebody like Aaron, I'll put a video up of Aaron doing some crazy stuff. Then Aaron, since when he's already strong, the volume becomes a lot, right? And so maybe he needs some recovery time, which has a lot to do with not just your squats, but how you eat, your body's natural ability to recover, your hydration, all those different things. What are the 4 things I always say, right? Food is number 1, right? Food, sleep, hydration, stress. Those are the 4 questions about recovery, right? So when we look at that, like undulating would be a good way to get Aaron, because Aaron's already over 500-pound back squat. He's over 600-pound deadlift. So those numbers, if we want them to go up, I really don't want them for his goals. We don't need them to go up. But if he wanted to, then we would do some undulating periodization. 1 week sort of lower or no adding of weight. Like if it was, I work percentages, so maybe we'll keep it in that 80% range, and then the following week we're bumping it up to 92, 95, and then back down to 80 the next week, and then we try to hit 105 the week after that, something like that. So this is very important, and you can do it with everything, guys. You can do it with Olympic lifts, you can do it with your cleans, you can do it with snatches, you can do it with jerks, power cleans, any of those things you can do that with. So my watch was going crazy, sorry. Those are the 2 simple ways to start periodizing. So if you have to have this in your program to get stronger, otherwise it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall. You don't have a plan. So you need a plan. And in CrossFit, they talk about constantly varied, if not random. I feel like the WODs are that way. I think the WODs should be constantly varied, if not random. I don't think your strength training should be. In my history, if you want to get stronger, you got to work at getting stronger. You might randomly get a little bit stronger, but you're never going to be at your top end. To get to your top end, you have to take some action and do some things. And the number one thing is find a plan for progressive resistance. Got it, guys? So then you can be throwing around some numbers and you can be the strongest in your box. And everybody loves that, right? Who doesn't want to be strongest in their class, in their box, in their, gym, in the town, in the city, and I have that. I've had MadAthletes that do that. Kulani was strongest at the CrossFit Games this last year, and he didn't start that way. He had to work at it. So guys, that's the pillar number 1, progressive resistance. Next video, we'll talk about pillar number 2, right? And that's the core. That's the secret. That's where some secret stuff comes in. 2 and 3 have some really good secrets, guys. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Rock and roll. I hope you have a great day. Don't forget, like, subscribe. Yeah. Rock and roll, guys. Oh, and check out the Madcast podcast, right? EJ's on there. You can listen to him. The guy's tough as nails, man. Tough guy. And it's a great podcast, along with all the others. Anyway, rock and roll, guys. Have a great one.